here's what's going on. Here are the facts. Hosni Mubarak, the president of Egypt, has been in power for the last 30 years. He's 82 years old. Now, President Mubarak has instituted for the longest time in Egypt what some would consider a democracy. And there have been those parties in Egypt who have wanted to throw him out of power for a very, very long time. One of those parties is a group known as the Muslim Brotherhood. Now, they've basically been pushed to the side in Egypt for the longest time, prevented from gaining control. What the Muslim Brotherhood, however, wants to do now is gain control of the government. Now, here's what you might be interested to know about the Muslim Brotherhood. They have spawned groups such as Hamas, the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigade, and Fatah, terrorist groups. So for the longest time, Hosni Mubarak, as I said, for the past 30 years has been ruling over Egypt. But now the Muslim Brotherhood wants to come in. And the Muslim Brotherhood makes up a lot of those anti-government supporters. Now, of course, some of these grievances are legitimate. Is there corruption in the Mubarak administration? Sure. Is there poverty? Is there lack of employment? Sure. And these are all legitimate concerns. However, these concerns are being used to fuel the fires for the Muslim Brotherhood to get in, to topple the Mubarak government, and basically to reign in power. Now, why is that significant for Israel and for us? Well, think about it. Egypt has now had a 30-year peace treaty with Israel. If the Muslim Brotherhood gets in, do you really think that that peace treaty is going to be kept in effect? One of the first things they're going to do is they're going to rip apart the peace treaty, and this Muslim Brotherhood, which has spawned terrorist groups, is now going to lead the government of Egypt in attacking Israel. Here's one of the ways. We know that for the longest time, weapons have been smuggled in from tunnels from Egypt into Gaza to be used to bomb places like Sderot, Beersheba, Ashkelon, and others. Well, if the Muslim Brotherhood gets in and they're hell-bent on the destruction of Israel, do you really think they're going to stop anybody at those tunnels in Egypt as they try to smuggle even more and more weapons in? This is really what's going on. Now, on the one hand, it seems that we're kind of between a rock and a hard place. We don't want the Muslim Brotherhood, obviously, to get in, but the government of Hosni Mubarak, on the other side, cannot continue as it is. The only solution is to have an orderly transition of government to yet another democratic government, not a government that is led by radical Islamic extremists who will no doubt bring in Sharia law, not only for themselves, but also for the world. The reason we know that is because the leader of the Muslim Brotherhood basically said that their enemy is, or are, the countries that are the Zionist supporters. Well, folks, that's us. So, do we want the Mubarak government to continue on in power? Obviously not. Do we want the Muslim Brotherhood to come into power? Obviously not. Yes, there has to be a good transition of power, but it has to be to a non-Islamic extremist government. You know, the other day our administration said we need to have a transition of power, but all parties need to be included. I disagree, because when you say all parties, you include the Muslim Brotherhood. And if the Muslim Brotherhood is involved, they will get to power. The peace treaty with Israel will be gone, which means Israel will now have enemies not only from the north in Lebanon, not only from the east and the Gaza Strip, or actually the West Bank, but now toward the south from Egypt. And let's not even talk about the unrest that's been going on in Tunisia. If you're a believer, you need obviously to lift this up in prayer. And thanks.